Hey y'all, welcome into a spooky Halloween edition of this Week 8 Bud Light Ingredients to Saint Success pregame live chat. My name is Jeff Nowak, WWL and Odyssey Sports digital sports producer, getting you ready for a Week 8 showdown at the Caesars Superdome. It is nice to see a game at the Caesars Superdome. It feels like it's been forever since they've been in there. They did get in there Week 4 against the Giants. Not a pleasant experience. I think a lot of fans have driven that memory directly out of their brain. So this almost feels like the home opener just because of how badly that went. But yes, Bucs Saints, pivotal NFC South matchup. Bucs come in at 6-1. Saints come in at 4-2. They've played one fewer game. If the Saints find a way to win today, they'll be even in the loss column, holding the first half of a key tiebreaker. So the NFC South race is very much wide open. It could close up if the Saints can't find a way to win today. If the Saints can't take the Bucs down, you're looking at 7-1 versus 4-3, half the tiebreaker. That is not a good way to assert yourself in the division. And a lot's going to be decided today, I think, in the NFC South race. If the Saints don't find a way to win, I think you shift to a wild card expectation. If they do find a way to win, a fifth consecutive NFC South title is very much on the table. So let's talk about the game. Again, my name is Jeff Nowak, WWL digital sports producer. I'll be joined shortly by Deuce McAllister to give us his ingredients to Saints victory. He's at the Superdome already. I'll be shipping out after I'm done here, but he'll be popping in shortly. But stick with me for now. In the meantime, throw your comments in the chat and wherever you're watching, either on YouTube, Facebook, whatever. If you're watching on the site, on odyssey.com/WWL, you'd have to pop into the YouTube feed and leave a question or a comment. Make sure to do that. I'd love to hear from y'all. I want to answer your questions. We're going to get to those in the back half of the show. But first, let's talk about the matchup. We have the Bucs heading to New Orleans. Well, they're already in New Orleans. You have the Bucs in New Orleans as 4.5-point favorites at the Superdome. How rare is it to see the Saints as underdogs at the Dome? Well, it's only happened 4 times since 2017. The Saints have covered twice. They pushed once. They lost once. That one game, though, if you recall, was in the 2017 season. It was when Tom Brady showed up with the New England Patriots and beat the Saints 36-20 in the 2017 season. So he's got some experience living up to expectations at the Superdome. But we have a few things that are of prime interest today. First, let's look at the injury report. I will pop it up for you here. Give me 1 second. I will find it, I promise. There it is. Okay, so the Saints injury report, nothing particularly surprising. You're without Andrews Pete. It is feared the reports are he has a torn pectoral muscle, likely to keep him out for the season. He hasn't been placed on IR yet. Oh no, hold on, come back. Oh, we lost it. Sorry, bear with me. Get back to the injury report. We're doing this live, folks. We're doing this live. All right. It's a pectoral injury. He hasn't been placed on IR, which gives you a little bit of optimism that maybe the Saints are hoping to get him back. But it is not a positive outlook for the Saints guard, Andrews Pete. He'll be replaced by Calvin Throckmorton. The good news is Calvin Throckmorton has had plenty of work filling in for, well, not filling in for Eric McCoy, but filling in for Cesar Ruiz, who moved to guard, filling in for Eric McCoy. So the good news is you have a lot of confidence in Calvin Throckmorton taking over there. You have left tackle Teron Armstead. You have Eric McCoy back. So there is some stability, at least consistency on the line that we haven't had all season. Dwayne Washington out. Taysom Hill is out. Deontay Harris is really the only question. Peyton Turner's also out with that calf injury. Deontay Harris is really the only questionable player on the roster in terms of will he play, will he not play. He has that hamstring injury. He got back to practice in a limited capacity late in the week. He'll be a key in the return game. I don't know how much you'll see him, even if he is active in the receiving game. But I think if he's out there, if he's not 100%, but he can go, I think you're going to see him really focus on returns more so than the offense. But getting him out there at all will be a big bonus, especially in the return game, not only because of what he provides in the return game, but what he allows Marquez Callaway, Alvin Kamara, whoever would be back there filling in for him to not have to do, right? So that's a big thing. Let's go down to the Bucs. They have a much more robust injury report. The only really notable absence will be Antonio Brown with an ankle injury, which I don't think that Mike Evans was going to escape the Marshawn Lattimore shadow treatment regardless of Antonio Brown's status. But that just means that he can focus his angst, his energy, that Marshawn Lattimore fire exclusively on Mike Evans. And let's see if he ends up with another fine. Hopefully he can avoid the penalties that didn't end up hurting the Saints last week, but you do not want to be giving away 15 yards at pivotal moments the way that Lattimore did. He played great. He played great after that 184-yard catch and run early in the game, which, I heard a lot of people saying it was a push-off. It was not a push-off. Lattimore got his foot kind of clipped as they ran down the field. His foot got caught on Metcalf's foot. He went down. It happens. And Marcus Williams got beat on the angle, and he went for a touchdown. The rest of the game, 1 catch, 12 yards. I give that matchup to the cornerback, even with the big play. And that's the result. I mean, that's the win. You win 13-10, and your cornerback locks down the top receiver for the other team. 1 catch, 12 yards for 3 quarters of football. I mean, that's a win for the defense. But you keep going down here. Rob Gronkowski apparently will give it a go. I don't know how he's going to be much more than a decoy, but he will be out there, and you have to account for him, especially in the red zone. He's one of those guys that basically Tom Brady can communicate with telepathically, and that's a really tough thing to deal with. If he's not 100%, that's a big boost for the Saints. If he's out there at all, it's a boost for the Bucs because you have to defend him, even if he's not really, really involved in the play. Beyond that, Lavonte David, D. Delaney, Jason Pierre-Paul, Richard Sherman, all questionable. It'll be interesting to see when the inactives come out, if any of them are on there. But we'll go from there. On the Saints side, you also keep in mind Kevin White is a call up again for this game, so he will be in the action. He was involved last week. If Deontay Harris isn't out there on offense, I think you'll see him involved again. Jameis wants to connect with him on a deep ball. He wants to. He had him last week. He had him and Kenny Stills back-to-back plays on go routes. They were open. The big play was there. They could not connect. And the Saints really should have blown that game open. They didn't because they were unable to connect on those deep shots. And that's something that I think you'll try to get to today. The Bucs were very aggressive, a very attacking defense. The linebackers, Devin White, Lavonte David, are going to get after you, JPP. And so I don't know how much time you're going to have to sit back there and take shots downfield. But that's really the biggest thing that's been missing from the Saints attack so far is just kind of those 30, 40 big plays in the middle of the field that really start drives, get you into the red zone so you can use that really efficient Saints offense. It has not been there. They haven't gotten to the red zone enough to be able to say, oh, we're the best red zone offense in the NFL. Percentage-wise, they have been. They just have not gotten enough opportunities. And that's where you need to improve. You need to make chunk plays. You need to get down the field. You need to extend drives. And I think that's something that once you start seeing that from the offense, and it'll be a lot easier to do when you get Michael Thomas back in the fold, I don't know how effective this offense can be. The good news is I've said this all season. I said it all preseason. I'm going to keep saying it. This is a top 3 defense. This might be a top 1 defense in the NFL. I mean, this could very well be the top defense in the NFL that we have seen all season, and they're only getting better. They're only getting pieces back. They got Quan Alexander, they got Ken Crawley back to practice. They got Marcus Davenport back in last week's game, and he was just a wrecking ball, just showing up in the backfield. He is it's just when you have this entire defense firing, it is really tough to stop. But the biggest thing that we have not mentioned so far, Mark Ingram back. Boom and Zoom has returned. And he talked a bit about how the trade developed. He said the Texans basically, the only team that they were going to trade him to for what they traded him for was the Saints. And I think they wanted to keep him. But the Saints showed up, the Saints called, the Saints threw an offer on the table, and the Texans, out of respect for Ingram, gave him the option. They said, if you want to go back to the Saints, we will let you do that. We want you to make this decision. And he did. And I think that's really cool. The Texans are going nowhere. At least do right by your veteran players. And they did. Brandon Cooks was not as thrilled. He called the trade, quote unquote, bullshit. I don't know if that was about him wanting to be in the trade or him being bummed that his buddy was headed out of town. Either way, he's not a fan. And, the Texans are the Texans. But here's a bit from Mark Ingram. I'll let you listen to what he had to say about coming back and joining the Saints. He was optimistic that maybe he might get to lead the Who Dat chant. I don't know if that's going to happen today. We'll have to wait and see. But he'll be out there in number 14 unless something has changed. And here's Mark.
And but to be able to have the opportunity to go back home where I started, and be able to help them fight, for a championship, is almost something that I couldn't pass up. You know what I mean? So I'm thankful for them for being honest and transparent and believing in me. And I'm also thankful for the Saints, wanting to come get me and bring me back home. So it was just good news, and I'm happy to be back home.
Did you ever think you'd get back here?
I was always in my mind, like one day being able to make it back, Me and my family kind of always just like, they was like, yo, you're going to end up in New Orleans again. I'm like, maybe one day. I believe that'll happen. I had no idea when or how or if it would happen, but I'm happy that it did. I'm happy I'm home. I'm happy to be back in Who Dat Nation. It's exciting, and I'm happy about it for sure.
And there you have it. You have Mark Ingram back in town. It really is fascinating to see a guy who just understands the offense so well showing back up in town. Because normally you'd make a trade midseason. You'd think, wow, how much of the offense can this guy really learn in 2-3 days? Showing up midweek, getting to practice on Friday and being active on Sunday. Mark Ingram is probably the only running back in the NFL you could have added and not had to ask that question about. I don't know how involved he will be. I don't know how incorporated into some of these sets he'll be. There will be some terminology that he has to learn because the offense does run a little differently than it did when Breeze was here back in 2019. 2018 was his last season in New Orleans. But he's going to get a chance. He's going to get out there. We'll be hearing from Deuce McAllister shortly. And, Deuce McAllister, the all-time Saints leading rusher, that title might not be his for much longer. Mark Ingram only needs 89 rushing yards to tie him for number one on that spot. I think it's going to happen. And it's just going to be fascinating to watch how if Boom and Zoom, if Alvin Kamara and Mark Ingram, if the magic can pick up where it left off. That duo was incredible, especially in the 2017 season. They combined to rush for more than 3,000 yards, 20 touchdowns, and it's pretty incredible to see. Hold on, I just got to check in with Deuce here. And that's going to be probably the biggest question mark of the day. Can Mark Ingram change the Saints offense a little bit? Can he make them a little more unpredictable, which I think has been their biggest issue to this point in the season is predictability. They've been giving Alvin Kamara more touches than I don't think the Saints will talk about overworking him in the sense of giving him too many touches. I will, because I am not confident that if they continue to give him the level of touches that he has been getting, that he's going to make it through the entire season. And I don't think there is a player more important outside of maybe Jameis Winston to the Saints offense, where if you lost him, you would completely get the skids. But that is where we are right now. He had a career high 30 touches against the Seahawks. He had 26 rush attempts against the Giants. It's just not how you want to be loading up the work on Alvin Kamara this early in the season. I don't know if you're going to see the true, I think this week is not going to necessarily be the end all be all of what this backfield duo is going to split the workload like, just because Mark Ingram showed up on Friday. His first practice was on Friday. And even if he doesn't have to learn the offense, he does have to get incorporated. He's never played with Jameis Winston before. And you just got to figure it out. But either way, it's great to see him back. Great to see Mark back. One of my favorite Saints players. Always fun to watch. He gives you a little power run to that game. Alvin Kamara is fine in the power running game. But again, those aren't necessarily the touches you want to have to give Alvin Kamara. You want to be able to get him out in space. You want to have him be a weapon in the receiving game. And this allows you to run in between the tackles without overloading Kamara and putting him in positions where he is best suited to attack. it's Halloween. It's going to be weird. It's going to be a weird experience at the Superdome. The mask mandate was lifted. Will that make for a louder experience? Will that make for a much more fan impact experience? I think we'll have to wait and see. I thought the crowd was solid against the Giants. There was you could see empty seats. It was not a capacity crowd. They were loud. The fans in there were very loud, but it was not a ear splitting. The defense can't even hear themselves communicate. I mean, the offense can't even communicate at the line. They're getting false start, or they're getting delayed game penalties. They're having to burn timeouts. That is not what you saw. And so that's what I'm hoping to see from this crowd today, from the energy, the Halloween energy. You're going to have costumes. It's going to be a fun time, but they need to be loud. And I think they will be. Let's hit up a couple questions while we wait for Deuce to show up. Okay. Robert Clark with the who dat. Knock Brady off his spot. We win. No, I think you're right. And one thing I didn't mention, David Onyemata back from suspension, first game back. He expressed, I think a lot of times when you hear people coming back from injury, right, or the extended absences, rather, he was not hurt, he was suspended. You hear them say, "Oh, it's going to take me a little bit to get up to speed, game speed, whatever." He did not say that. He was saying he is in phenomenal shape, phenomenal quote unquote football shape, which I would argue is a lot different than just running on a treadmill or doing whatever you do. He says he's ready to fire. And if you go back and watch the tape from that week, whatever week it was last year, I think it was week 9, maybe week 10, that just complete demolition in Tampa, that 38-3 Saints win. He was just in Brady's grill all day long. And if he can do that again, if he can create a lot more pressure on the interior, it's going to be tough for Tom Brady, because what we've seen from Tom Brady throughout his career, if you allowed him to stand back and pick you apart, he's going to do it. If you knock him off his spot, if you hit him, if you put him on his back, if you make him aware of the pressure, especially interior pressure, he's going to have problems. So that's something that, you're going to want to watch David Onyemata, Big O, the Manitoba Mauler, in the middle of the field. And that's going to be a guy I'm watching really closely today. All right. Looks like Deuce is about ready to join us again. Thank you for watching the Bud Light Ingredients to Saint Success pregame live chat with the ingredients. We know what the Bud Light's ingredients for success are. It's I actually forgot them, but they're proudly printed on the label. It's hops, barley, water, and rice. But we're about to find out what Deuce McAllister's ingredients to Saint Success are. And let's see. Deuce says he's ready. Hey, Deuce, how's it going out there at the Superdome?
It's coming along pretty good, Jeff. And, what's interesting is I have to apologize about my tardiness, but, man, sometimes you forget how many of the former guys that you went up against, particularly I'm on the I don't know, I was trying to show you guys. I am on Tampa Bay's side right now. And so I had to say hello to some of the guys that I played against, some of the linebackers and some of the former coaches, waiting on Coach Aarons to come out and, see playoff Lenny. I don't want playoff Lenny to show up, that being Fournette. To see some of those guys and wish them luck the rest of the season, but not today.
Yeah, and I mean, what are your expectations as far as the crowd experience? I felt like the Giants game, there was a lot of energy, but it wasn't as loud as you might have remembered. What do you think? Do you think it's going to be a little more representative of that Saints crowd today? I think we froze here. Oh, there we go. Did you hear the question? Do you need me to ask it again?
No, yeah, ask the question again. I lost you for a second.
Oh, well, so week 4 against the Giants, I thought the crowd had a lot of energy, but it wasn't quite the, raucous Saints crowd that we've grown to expect. You think that's going to change a little today, the Halloween energy? You got a lot of costumes in there?
Well, I think that you'll get a lot of costumes, and I expect this crowd to be locked in totally. They know we need to win, and we need to feed off their energy as far as this team is concerned. So I expect the crowd to not be an issue. The biggest thing is, can they go out there and be successful and execute some of the things that they need to be able to execute? That's the question that, I have, and that's really on the players. But I think from an energy standpoint, this crowd will be fired up.
So what are your expectations for Mark Ingram? Obviously, he showed up on Friday. In most cases, you'd say a running back showing up midweek. How much impact could they have learning an offense? He doesn't really have to learn the offense. But I think there's still some learning curve that you have to figure out after 2 years away. What are your expectations there?
I still expect Mark probably to get about 10 touches. When you talk about carries, he'll be able to carry the football. Some of the pass routes, he'll be able to do some of those things. So, as far as that's concerned, he will fit right in. Some of the pass protections he's going to be comfortable with. It's just getting him familiar with just a word or a number. I mean, because the system has changed, but it hadn't changed that much. He played in that system long enough to still feel pretty comfortable in it, and then just go out there and make an impact. I mean, they had to do something to try to take some of that pressure off of Alvin Kamara. And so Mark will have a pretty good impact on this game.
Yeah, I mean, just kind of building off that, what would you say is the most important thing for the Saints in terms of pulling off what would be technically an upset today because the Bucs are coming in as 4.5-point favorites?
Well, two things, really. They have to take care of the football. That's thing number one. They can't give this Tampa offense a short field. And the other thing I think that they have to do, you always say you want to hit the quarterback, but you have to limit the explosive plays that Tampa has. I mean, because if Tampa is able to feed off explosive plays, we're in for a world of hurt. So Lattimore, he's got to be all world, and he's got to take Evans out of this game. We've got to limit Godwin. I mean, that's what it's going to come down to. We've got to limit Godwin and not allow him to just go crazy in this game.
Yeah, and I mean, speaking, kind of building off that, so Mike Evans, obviously, the Marshawn Lattimore, Mike Evans experience has been something to watch over the last few years. And I don't know if you had DK Metcalf to that that list of receivers now. What is it about Marshawn that he just lifts his game in those like angry matchups, as I call them?
Well, it's elite receivers. It's playing against elite receivers, and Marshawn may not get some of the love from the national press, and so when he can go and shut down the elite receivers, I think he goes out and shows and proves that he can do what he's supposed to be doing. I'm good. Good to see you. I'm doing good. You too.
Well, all right. I mean, that's all I had. Did you have anything else you wanted to add, Deuce, before we let you go?
No, I think it's important. David Onyemata has to have an impact on this game, and Cam Jordan has to have an impact on this game. They have to have that impact.
Yeah, Cam Jordan got his first sack of the year last week. Let's see if he can keep it going. Again, it's Deuce McAllister. Thanks so much for joining us. Make sure to check out the broadcast on WWL Radio, 870 AM, 105.3 FM. And thanks for joining us, Deuce.
No problem at all, baby.
All right, take care. All right, there you have it. I think Deuce made a great point in terms of the pass rush. Cam Jordan he's gotten some criticism early in the season about the lack of sacks. I don't think that this number of sacks a defensive end gets is as important as a lot of people want to believe it is. As long as you are impacting the quarterback, you are impacting the game. And I think that's where you have to look. If you're only looking at the number in the box score, you're missing a lot. And Cam Jordan, I've always said, is one of the best run defending defensive ends out there. He's always effective in containment. He's always making sure the running back isn't breaking outside of him. And, getting to the passer is only part of the equation as a defensive end. And especially without David Onyemata, I think that the ends are playing a much bigger role in stopping the run. And with him back, I think maybe you can get a little more aggressive on the edges. The Bucs are not a team that's going to try to outflank you so much as they're going to try to run through you. As Deuce pointed out, playoff Lenny, we got him in the playoffs last year, hoping you don't get him again. He's been really good, and I don't think that's particularly a surprise for anyone in Louisiana. Anyone who watched him come up in St. Aug, we know all about Leonard Fournette, and I think that's why when the Bucs signed him, I don't think anyone questioned, is Leonard Fournette going to be better in Tampa than he was at the tail end in Jacksonville? We all know about Leonard Fournette. So you just don't want to make sure he does not wreck the game. The Saints are usually pretty good against power runners. So we'll see what happens there. All right. So we have a few questions. I'll get to them here. Again, make sure you check out WWL Radio, AM, FM for the broadcast. As we saw, Deuce, Mike Haas going to be calling it. Make sure to sync up your TV to the broadcast. You don't need the Fox announcers. You can listen to WWL Radio. They're great. They've been doing a great job. It's been fun to watch them kind of, learn the ropes together. I think a broadcast team joining together is always interesting because it's a very personalized experience, and it's always fun to see how different groups interact. But we got Saints 01 here with a question. Wonder if Ingram leads the Who Dat. I would be stunned if he does not. I would question the Saints' entire PR department if they don't send Mark Ingram out there to lead the Who Dat. I mean, it's who everybody wants to see. The whole point of the Who Dat is to get the fans excited. And if it's not Ingram, who's it going to be? I mean, why would it be anybody else? I hope it's Ingram. I think it's going to be Ingram. And I'm excited to see it live. D Davis Day for Tommy Boy. I'm not sure exactly what that means, but I am a fan of Demario Davis. I've always been a fan of Demario Davis. Well, always. I didn't really watch him when he was with the Jets. I'm talking about always. Since he has been here, I've never been more impressed with the just ascendance of a linebacker into a true leader than I have with Demario Davis. He seems to be ageless. He seems to get better as he's gotten older. He's just whatever you need him to do, he does it. Last week, he just blew up the line on like 3 consecutive plays. Sorry, the feed has been kicking me out lately. I don't know why, but I am back. Last year, he completely torpedoed a drive by himself. On one play, he blocked the center so far back. He blew up the center so well that the center essentially tackled his own running back in Alex Collins. And what Demario told us after the game was he got a little peeved about some of the late blocks the Seahawks were throwing. It was a chippy game. It was a chirpy game. And what Demario Davis says about that is, there's plenty of time to be tough in between the whistles. When the whistle blows to start the play and when the whistle blows to end the play, that's the time that you have to prove you're a tough person. You don't have to prove it after the play. That doesn't mean anything. It's a tough game already. Show it. And that's what Demario does. And I believe it because Demario, more than anybody else, he's just a tough dude and he makes the play. And he's like, when you talk about leadership, I don't know if anyone embodies it more than Demario Davis. Let's see. Let's get some questions here. When does Ingram break Deuce's rushing record? I didn't bring it up with Deuce because I feel like he's answered that question at least 50 times already. I feel like he's tired of talking about it. He said, he's not sad to see Mark Ingram back. He's not bummed about potentially losing that record. As it's a cliche, but it's true. Records are made to be broken, right? He might have to change some of his descriptions on some websites if he's no longer the all-time leading rusher. We introduce him as the Saints' all-time leading rusher all the time on WWL radio, but I think he's happy to see a guy take it down. And let's be real, Alvin Kamara is going to break that record in a few years anyway. So let's just call it what it is. But okay, let's move on. I don't think it's going to be today, right? It could be. I don't think Mark's going to have a 100-yard rushing game in his return, but that would be one heck of a story if he did. But I think one of these weeks, he's going to probably, I think what's a conservative amount, assuming he stays healthy, 30 yards a game. So that if he averages 30 yards rushing a game, he's going to break that record by week 10. So if he's involved, which he will be, I don't know how much today, but if he's involved going forward, he's going to break that record, and it's going to be fun when he does. It's an exciting thing. It's not something to be sad about, and that's how Deuce is approaching it. Oh, this is an answer today. That would be a heck of a story, let me tell you. Let's see, beautiful day for Saints. It is beautiful outside. I don't know if you've been outside. It's cooler. The weather kind of took a turn. Got some wind, but man, I love cooler temperatures, so I am all about it. This is the type of day where I'm always kind of bummed that the Saints play in a dome because I would love this. This would be perfect outdoor football weather if we had it. Yeah, I mean, I'm excited too. 2-0 as underdogs. Yeah, I mean, this Saints team doesn't seem like one that's going to get rattled by not being a favorite. If anything, it's gonna amplify that energy that they're going to bring. So, I think the Saints win today. I think this feels like a game the Saints win. The Saints have not made a habit of losing pivotal NFC South games in the last few years. They just haven't. I mean, this is a team that knows exactly what they're playing for, and I'm sure the Bucs do too. Tom Brady is as good as anyone at taking a division title, but this is a team that has proven time after time that when the going gets tough, especially in the division, they know how to handle it, and I think they will again today, even the betting favorites. Let's see. Improvement in the receiver core is needed in this to win. I think improvement's needed among the wide receivers. I don't think there's a question that the wide receivers need to play better. I don't think that that's necessarily going to be the difference in the game today, just because what we've seen all season, this Saints defense, and as I said before, it is a top defense. If the Saints can win any game, in my opinion, if they avoid turnovers and they run the ball effectively. You don't have to score a ton of points when you are maintaining positive field position and putting your defense in a position to go after, to pin their ears back and get after Tom Brady. If you're constantly turning the ball over, you're in trouble. And look at last season. Look at how those games played out, right? Look what was the difference in the playoff matchup? Because it wasn't the Saints forgetting how to play football. It was the turnovers. It was that turnover by Breeze in the first half where the Bucs got it on a short field. It was the fumble by Jared Cook in the second half where the Bucs took it and went down and scored. And that was what swung the momentum in that game. If you put your defense in a position to win you a game, this defense can win you games. If you don't put them in a position to win you a game, then yes, you need the offense to pick it up. You need the wide receivers to assert themselves. But the Saints can win this game, even with limited impact from their wide receivers. If they're better, great. But that's not, to me, that is not the focus. You're not pushing the ball to wide receivers and putting yourself at risk for interceptions, knowing that your defense is good enough to win the game. And I think that's the disconnect of why is Sean Payton keeping this offense subdued? Why is Sean Payton not allowing Jameis to cook? It's because he understands that. He knows just how good his defense is. He trusts Dennis Allen. He trusts Demario Davis. He trusts Marshawn Lattimore. He trusts Jameis Winston. Just not quite as much as he could at this point. And again, a lot of that has to do with just how good this defense is and making sure they're in a position where it will allow them to win games. And I think that's the disconnect there. And keep in mind, Michael Thomas coming back is a game changer whenever he does. He still hasn't gotten back to practice yet, as far as we know. And when he gets back, though, I think that's going to be a big difference in how this all develops. Let's see. Yes, this has always been the case. This was the case against Drew Brees. I mean, when you have a quarterback that is, I don't want to say immobile. He can move, but he's not fast. He's not a guy that's going to run. He's going to extend plays. When you can kind of collapse the pocket from the interior and force him outside, that's the key to slowing down Tom Brady. We saw it in the Super Bowl with the Giants. We saw it last year in Tampa. And that's why getting David Onyemata back for this game specifically, I felt was a very fortunate thing for the Saints, because that's where he feasts. Yeah, no, I mean, Demario, I've run out of ways to explain how good Demario Davis is. He's incredible. He's one of the best finds. You're gonna look back at Mickey Loomis's career whenever he hangs up the wizard hat, because I assume he's a wizard. That's how he has managed his team the last decade, 2 decades. Demario Davis is going to be, obviously free agent fines. You're going to put Drew Brees at the top, because I don't think you're ever going to top Drew Brees as a free agent. But Demario Davis is going to be second, and he's going to be far and away second. Because it's one of the best signings of the last decade for the Saints, and it's continuing to pay dividends, and he's showing no signs of slowing down. Keep that guy around as long as you can, because even beyond the plays he makes on the field, the energy he brings, the emotion that he instills in other people, the leadership, you can't even quantify that. It's incredible. I think the Saints should run the ball out of 3 receiver sets, try and spread it out some. I don't know how much success they can have only having 1 receiver out wide with 6 linemen and 2 tight end sets. Well, yeah, the Saints personnel as it currently is, when you have Juwan Johnson out there, I mean, he's a wide receiver. So I don't know, if you're just looking at the personnel, it's tough because, you could call, I think Taysom Hill, when you're looking at personnel, would technically be a tight end, and you're talking about 2 tight end sets. Juwan Johnson's a 2 tight end set again. He's a wide receiver playing tight end. So I don't know if the personnel is as important as, are you running a jumbo set? Are you putting Will Clapp out there or whoever James Hurst as that extra lineman. But I think that you want to see more of that with Ingram. The issue with the jumbo sets and the big, the six linemen, whatever, is the only running back you have that you trust to run power at that point is Kamara through the first 6 weeks of the season. Now you have Ingram. And so you can do that in ways that doesn't force 30 touches on Kamara, right? And I think that's a big difference in how you can approach it. But no, I mean, I think the Saints do need to get creative with how they incorporate the wide receivers, and they need to get creative with personnel. And as you get guys back, which they have, it's going to be easier to do, right? I mean, I think not having Teron Armstead was a huge factor in terms of how well you can hope to hold up in the passing game without keeping an extra blocker in. And having him back, getting through last week without re-injury is big. Harris was questionable. I haven't seen the inactives yet. They should be coming out shortly if they haven't yet. Let's see if I can pull them up. No, still not seeing inactives. But he's questionable. I think if you see Deontay Harris, I would expect to see him in returns exclusively. I mean, maybe a few snaps here and there on the offense, but if he got limited practice this week, which indicates he is not 100%, and if you're running a guy out there who is not 100%, you have to limit him somewhere, and I think it's going to be on offense where you see him limited. But again, that's a huge impact if he's able to even get back in the return game. So that's what I'm looking for there. Let's see if there's any other questions before I let you go. I don't see any. Sorry if I missed any, but yes. Who that Halloween? As you can see behind me, I have a spooky background. I put that up just for you. I even have a witch's hat, but it's too tall. You wouldn't be able to tell what it is. It looks like I'm a pilgrim if I put it on. So I haven't worn it yet. But that's it for me. Again, thanks for watching the Bud Light Ingredients to Saints Success pregame live chat with the ingredients proudly printed on the label: hops, barley, water, and rice. My name's Jeff Nowak, WWL Sports digital sports producer and Odyssey Sports. I always forget to add the Odyssey, but I do have it on the shirt here. So you got that. Let me take down this question and add my banner so you can see my name. Keep in mind, I'm producing this myself. So if it seems odd, it's because I'm looking away at trying to figure out how to press the buttons. But again, WWL Digital Sports Producer Jeff Nowak. Follow me on Twitter at Jeff_Nowak. Make sure you check us out on Facebook, over on Twitter at WWLAMFM. If you're watching this on YouTube, hit the subscribe button. If you are watching this over on Facebook, make sure to follow us. And if you want to check out our YouTube channel, there's the channel below. If you go to Google and type in YouTube WWL Sports, you'll find it. Make sure to ring the bell, hit the subscribe button. We've got about 90 minutes to kick off. Make sure you go and check out the final hour of the pregame show over on WWL AM 870, FM 105.3, and the Odyssey app. Christian Garrick and Bobby Aber are bringing me up to game time. And then we hand off to Deuce McAllister and Mike Haas on the call. Thanks to Deuce for coming in. Thanks to everyone for watching. And, let's see what happens. Peace.